Waterfall, the CCW podcast.
Hello, this is Waterfall, the water saving podcast. I'm Mike and I'm here with the guru that is Karen. Hi Karen.
Hello Mike.
What have we got coming up in today's show?
Well, on today's show we're going to be looking at the help that is out there if you are struggling with your water bill. It's a very serious topic as we know many people are struggling with the cost of living crisis.
No, absolutely right. And I've not met anyone who isn't feeling the pinch right now. But it's exciting today because we have got expert guests coming on. We'll be welcoming Andy White, who is CCW's very own affordability expert. And he's going to be talking about the help that's out there for people who are struggling with their bills, particularly their water bills. And we'll be speaking to Andy very soon. So Karen, another rival guru for you. That's 2 episodes in a row. I'm not sure how you're going to cope.
I'm definitely feeling the pressure. Could we be seeing a new double act emerging?
I don't think so, Karen. I don't think so. We're inseparable now. And, people look forward to hearing your knowledgeable tones and my mainly anodyne drivel. But don't forget, you can get in touch with the show if you want to tell us what you think of the Karen and Mike double act or my anodyne drivel. You can email the show at podcast@ccwater.org.uk.
I mean, we love getting your emails and feedback on the show, and in particular suggestions for future episodes. And if you do have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to get in touch.
Now, we have got listeners in far-flung places. Now, last time on the episode about watching what you flush, we were talking about our Canadian listeners, urging them to get in touch. Now, producer Tom has been telling me that we also have listeners in, guess where, Karen? We've got quite a list here, right? Brace yourself. I mean, it's hard to believe.
Okay,
We've got listeners in the USA, Australia, France, Germany, Romania, India, Belgium, Spain, Israel, and Thailand. I mean, this is fantastic. But I do have a question. Is this just a network of all your relatives, Karen?
No, not at all. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? But as I said before, Mike, more than happy to head up a fact-finding mission to any of those places, you know, if the TNS budget will stretch to it.
So, I'm getting the hint here that Karen is really desperate to wangle a trip abroad. But, you know, it is a pleasant surprise to find out we've got listeners all over the place. But actually, water is something that everyone has in common. Every single person needs water to live, to function. So it's not a surprise that stuff that we're saying is of relevance no matter where you live in the world. So thank you. Thank you for listening, and please do get in touch.
The human body is roughly 60% water. This podcast is 100.
So here at Waterfall, we've been helping you look at ways to reduce your water use. And reducing your water consumption is a fantastic way to help the environment reduce carbon emissions, to combat climate change, and it can have a big impact on your bills. And it's not just your water bill.
If you're on a water meter, you can save through reducing the amount of water you use. If you're using less hot water, you can also save on your fuel bill. And as we know, fuel bills have gone through the roof and are putting many, many people under significant financial pressure.
Yeah, I mean, the fuel bills are on the news every single day. And we hear a lot about this price cap. And I've been looking into it. And I really don't think the price cap is a particularly helpful way of expressing energy bill because it's not a cap on what you pay.
Yeah, I agree. The definition of the price cap is what an average user with average consumption would pay for their energy.
So absolutely not a cap. I mean, I prefer looking at the unit cost of energy, and that tells quite an interesting story. And it's quite a shocking story because the price for 1 unit of energy has gone up from, I think it was 21 pence per kilowatt hour last winter. Then it went up to 28 kilowatt hour in the spring. Now it's 34p per kilowatt hour. Now, you don't really need to know what a kilowatt hour is and what that means, but just look at the jump. That's what matters. And it's gone up over 60%. From last winter to this winter, 60%. And that's for electricity. And when you look at gas, it is even more frightening because gas prices have gone up 2.5 times. They're 2.5 times more expensive this winter than last winter. And that means many people are going to feel the pinch.
And so this just emphasises that you get those double savings by reducing your water use. If it's related to heating water, you can save on your water bill and you'll save on your fuel bill too. Cutting back really is the way to go because the cheapest bill is the bill you don't have to pay.
So I heard that phrase. See, I love that phrase. I heard that the other day, I think on the radio, and someone was saying, the cheapest bill is the bill you don't have to pay. And I thought, that is so true though. I mean, I know it's like stating the blindingly obvious. But the cheapest bill is the bill you don't have to pay. And that's why taking simple steps to reduce your water use and your energy use if it's hot water, without making big sacrifices, can have a huge difference on your energy and water bills.
If you've been listening to previous editions of Waterfall, then you will know that we have been giving you lots and lots of information and great ways of taking steps to reduce your water use. We've identified hundreds, if not thousands of pounds worth of potential savings on water and energy.
Absolutely. And I think there was one episode where we totted it up and it was like £1,400 worth of savings. There's an awful lot of savings out there from taking simple steps. And we've been focusing in these episodes of Waterfall, going around the house and in the garden to look at where you can make those changes, where you can take those simple steps to cut back on the amount you use. And so far we've been the kitchen, the loo and the garden. And these are all areas where we use lots of water, and the savings can be made from taking simple steps without making big sacrifices. And that is, we're going to keep saying this because it's so important. You can make changes and they're easy.
But Mike, I think we need to acknowledge that even with those savings, we appreciate that this will not be enough for many people. The pressures from the cost of living crisis more widely, not just energy bills, but cost of food, etc., are pushing people into very difficult places. And that's why in this episode, we are going to be talking about in more detail about what support and help is available if you are struggling to pay your water bill.
CCW, passionate about championing the best interests of everyone who uses water, now and in the future.
So let's bring on our guest for today. We're very pleased to welcome CCW's very own affordability expert. It's Andy White. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Mike.
You all right?
I'm good, thanks.
You are our second ever guest on Waterfall, so I'm sorry. It feels like the runner-up prize. Are you okay?
No,
with that?
It's a huge honour and privilege to be here.
Now we know you're just taking the mickey. But Karen is our regular water guru. But who do you think's a bigger guru, you or Karen?
I wouldn't dare to question her authority. I defer to her.
Well, she's got a short temper, but we haven't seen it come out live on air yet. But Tom is looking a bit scared. So let's get on to the big issue, which is the cost of living crisis. And can you just give us a bit of context? Because you obviously hear a lot of stuff in the media about it, but media does have a tendency to go on and on about things. And sometimes the things they go on about aren't actually that big. But this does feel different. This does feel big. It
does. And I think there's two parts to this. And the first part, really, I want to be honest so that people know what to expect. But I also want to talk a bit about the fact that there is a way out of this, because I think, there's a risk that people become overwhelmed by the scale of the problem, when actually there is something that we can do about it. So I think it is important that people know, though, what's coming down the line. Prices are increasing faster than they've done for decades. In fact, higher rate than since I was at school, and that is a very long time ago. So that's one clear impact that people are already seeing. And then I think the energy prices, which have been increasing, but haven't really hit people yet because we've not had the central heating come on yet. And as those bills are coming through and people are heating their homes and using more hot water, we're going to see a real impact on people. And we know that that's going to impact people in two ways. People who are already struggling are going to be in even greater difficulty than they were before. And we know debt advice agencies are saying that they're seeing more people with negative budgets. And what that means is they're actually, at the end of the day, it's not that they have nothing left. They've got a negative amount of money left after they've spent on all their bills and outgoings. The other thing, though, what we're seeing is more of those people who were just about managing previously falling into difficulties. And the latest figures on that suggest that 1 in 5 people in recent months have fallen behind on at least one bill. So I think, we're getting to that point now where if we ourselves are not struggling, we all know somebody amongst our friends or our family that is in that position as well. So I think that's the very sort of bleak picture. And as I say, what I don't want is for people to be overwhelmed by that and feel it's too big a mountain to climb. Because what we have got to be able to talk about is the fact that there are some great assistance schemes out there that can help people through this difficult time.
Karen and I were just talking about this point about the energy price guarantee, that whilst it's kind of good news, people haven't really seen the reality of what that means, with the prices for electricity 60% up on last winter and 2.5 times more expensive for gas. And that's not really hit home yet. And it's just the point you were making there, Andy. And how hard is it then to keep track of how this is evolving? So more and more people are slipping into difficulty. You were quoting a number 1 in 5 there. Other numbers I've seen are 1 in 3 were struggling to pay a bill.
Yeah, I think we're seeing it, obviously this is drawing a lot of attention from the agencies that work with people struggling to pay. And we're just seeing the picture growing in that field. I think at the moment, water companies are not seeing, particularly bad results and particularly bad position of people. They're seeing a slight growth in people reaching out for help, but they all anticipate seeing much more of that as we go into winter.
So you're saying there's potentially a tsunami coming our way?
Absolutely, that's the risk.
So if I'm a struggling water customer and I'm finding it tough to make ends meet, and I'm struggling with my water bill, I mean, what should I do? What's the first thing that I should do?
It sounds like the simplest thing in the world, but actually for some people they find it really hard, and that's to talk to someone and actually realise that they need that support and tell someone, and in particular tell their water company. Because until they know that help is needed, they're not going to be able to help you, and they may assume that you're not paying for some other reason than just not being able to. So I think it's really important that people make that contact. Companies are not going to be upset or disappointed that you're contacted. They've got teams dedicated to trying to help people, and they're waiting for those calls. And keen to really work with each individual to work out what's best for them in terms of saving money. And it could be something as simple as, if you don't have a water meter and you would get a lower bill by having a water meter, switching you over to that system of payment, which can cut people's bills by hundreds of pounds. And we have a calculator on our website which helps people identify whether water metering is for them and whether they make that saving. And the money saving expert Martin Lewis regularly promotes that on his TV appearances. And
we see it's very popular, isn't it? We see a big surge, don't we?
We see a massive surge on that whenever he mentions that. So I think it's only fair we give him a shout out in this podcast, really. So it can be as simple as that. But then companies also have other measures to help people, particularly those who are struggling financially. So they have these things called social tariff schemes.
So that's a bit of jargon there. What's that mean in its simplest sense?
Absolutely. It doesn't mean a lot to people outside of utilities, really. But all it means is that some people can get access to lower bills than they would otherwise pay if they meet certain criteria. And that's just about making sure that the bills that they face are more manageable based on their financial circumstances.
So that sounds like a great thing, that there's basically a reduced price for your water if certain conditions are met and you're struggling. Are these popular?
Absolutely. There's around 1 million people in England and Wales already benefiting from these schemes. So that's, a massive amount of people already getting that help. And there's scope to help more people as well. So it just needs, for those people to get in touch and make contact.
So it sounds like a really clear message coming from you there, Andy, that there's this help available and you're urging people to take that first step and reach out.
Absolutely. It's, as I say, it can feel like a really hard thing to do. Or it can seem easy, but it actually is a hard thing to do for some people, but it makes the real difference.
I can imagine there's like a bit of a psychological barrier or a pride or whatever is stopping you from doing that. And I can understand that. Or I mean, I know I'm like, always, putting things, I'll do it tomorrow. Do you see that sort of thing happening?
Absolutely. I think, people often don't realise that these schemes are to help people like them. They always assume it's to help someone in perhaps facing more challenging circumstances, or they're just reluctant to claim that help. But actually, this is something they're entitled to, and this is something that is meant to help them in these circumstances. And the water companies are, queuing up to give this help to the people who deserve it.
So that's quite a compelling figure, though, that you quoted a minute ago. 1 million people have done this.
Yeah, 1 million households are benefiting from these lower bills. And that can give them quite considerable bill reductions. In some cases it can be up to 90%. Bill reduction at some aspect, and many of them it's at least half of the bill that is being reduced. Wow,
that's fantastic. So I mean it's well worth making that initial call then, if you're going to potentially get that kind of benefit.
Absolutely.
No, that's so what about people in other sort of circumstances that maybe you're kind of making ends meet, but something then happens. You change jobs and you're at a month without salary, so you need some sort of short-term help. So maybe a kind of permanent reduction in your bill isn't what's needed. Is there other types of help would be more suitable? Are there other types of help?
Absolutely. The water companies know that life isn't always predictable and people do face these bumps in the road. And they have schemes to help that, and that involves greater flexibility about payment arrangements. And in particular, they have schemes called payment breaks, which can either give people a full break from charges or a reduced charge for a set period of time, just to help them get through that difficult patch. Sometimes that's all people need to get that opportunity to avoid falling into difficulties.
So it gives people a breathing space.
Absolutely, yeah.
This payment break. So how popular are these?
Yeah, it's something that is really useful. All companies provide this. And I think what it can do is, for those that don't have a reliable income, we know a lot of people are working now on temporary contracts.
This is like the gig economy, is that?
Absolutely, yeah. Much more people now don't have that steady stream of income, and they therefore, need to be able to access that flexibility of changing payment amounts and saying, I know I'm not going to have any work for the next 2 months. What can I do about my outgoings during that time? And companies are really keen to give people that opportunity, because if people just don't make that payment, then they don't know what's happening, and there's a risk that there'll be consequences, and you'll go through that process where you might get the letters chasing you, and actually it can affect your credit rating. So it's far better just to have that conversation with the water company, let them know what's going on, and they'll be able to help you through that period.
So it seems like there's a really clear message coming through that reach out to your water company and just have that conversation and try and get over whatever is stopping you from doing that. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it is about communicating, and it's understanding that we're all facing this situation. People don't need to feel that they're alone. There are lots of people out there that are going to be feeling the pressures of the current situation, and a lot of people needing help, and that help is out there for them.
I'm just been thinking about the different circumstances people might find themselves under. So we kind of covered off people who are kind of just struggling all the time, and social tariff might be the thing for them. Talk about maybe people who are temporarily needs shorter term help. Just going with that theme of shorter term help. What about a crisis in people's lives? Something happens and they are making ends meet, but then that just one thing. I think you used the phrase earlier, actually, financial shock. Something happens, like either the washing machine packs in, and you know what? I simply can't afford to buy a new one, but because that is just beyond me right now. Is there anything out there for those kind of circumstances?
Absolutely. There's about 2/3 of the water companies have financial hardship funds. And what they do is they set aside a pot of money, which is there to help people with a one-off payment, to help them get through those difficulties. Now, in some cases, that can be just to help them with the water arrears. So if they've fallen into debt, to lift them out and set them back up and on course. In other cases, it can go beyond that, and it can help people buy white goods. So if their fridge is broken down, their washing machine, they can actually give them some money to get that, rather than going out and getting something on expensive finance, which could end up costing them a small fortune and make their financial circumstances worse. So those are really great schemes for giving that one-off cash injection. They're often administered by a separate body to the water company, and they will look at the circumstances of the case and decide if they can make an award in that. And also for those people, if you've had a financial shock such as losing your job or changing financial circumstances, the other thing that you can do is to check whether you're getting all the benefits that you're entitled to. And water companies now offer this service, and we'll be able to help you with that. But also we have a tool on our website which people can use to identify if they're getting all the benefits that they're entitled to. And we know that people who use that save or access millions of pounds a year in unclaimed benefits that they're entitled to. It's got their name written on it. They just don't know it and they're not claiming it. So that's a really important way of doing that. And alongside that, we've also got a grant search tool, which allows people to look for financial hardship schemes operated by other organisations other than water companies. And that can be linked to where you live, what profession you're in. So maybe you've been a farm worker, maybe you've been in the armed forces. There are organisations, charities that have pots of money to help people who have a connection with those areas of work or areas of geography, and to really help them through those periods by being able to give them grants.
So you've just given me an incredibly meaty answer there. So can I just break that down a little bit? Because going back to the emergency support, you had
financial hardship. Financial hardship.
There you go. Proper name for it. When you were saying that other third parties sometimes administer them, does that mean that if a customer person in that circumstance, would they have to find a third party, or would they talk to the water company and then they'd be directed across?
They'd speak to the water company, but they would then hand over the case to the people that they've appointed to act independently of them. So, they're not making decisions themselves as a water company. They've given a pot of money to a group of people who've been appointed with a specific purpose of deciding how that money is shared amongst people who need it.
And is it done that way to make sure it's done fairly?
It is, yeah, right. To, make sure that that is being done in a fair way. And those that are registered charities, it has to be done in that way to make sure that it is operating to requirements of the charity.
I suspect if you walked out to, New Street, where we are in Birmingham now, and just asked people about this, that your water company could help you in this way, I think a lot of people would be surprised about that. Is that a fair assumption?
Absolutely. I think, that's the case for, in fact, all the support that we're talking about today, because people just don't expect to be able to get that help from their water company. They feel if they fall behind or are at risk of falling behind, the best thing they can do is keep quiet, hide away, try and ignore the problem. And actually that's the worst thing that they can do, because the companies are not going to want to chase them. They're actually lining up with support to help them, but they just need to know that help, that need is there.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And from a water company's point of view, clearly it'd be better to help people than to allow people to fall into debt and then have to then chase them. So, that makes perfect sense. The tools that you were talking about, now they sound great. So a benefits calculator and a grants search tool, right? Yeah. So they're stuff that's on our website.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we can put the links to those in the show notes for this, so people can easily find them. So, they sound really good. And can I just check what you say? They are literally revealing millions of pounds of benefits and grants that are available.
Absolutely. I think it was £2 million alone last month that people who used that tool found that they were eligible to in unclaimed benefits.
Wow. that's incredible. I'm looking at Tom because I love it when we have the figures. That's money that could be in people's pockets.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's money they're entitled to and just not claiming.
Can I just finish with debt? Because we've kind of talked about a bunch of really brilliant stuff that's out there to basically stop people falling into debt. So, you've got your social tariffs, you've lower bills, you've got the kind of payment breaks, and then you've got other things like benefits calculator and all that great stuff that's out there. And it does feel like there's a really good sort of basket of stuff there that can help people in all sorts of ways. And I think when people find out about this, they will be surprised how much is out there. But what if you are listening to this and you are sitting there going, well, that's great, but I'm now actually up to my eyes in debt and I'm currently ignoring it. I mean, what should you do there, and what can companies do to help?
Yeah, so a lot of the companies can help customers in that particular circumstance by helping them clear that debt faster. And all that means is if that customer pledges to start paying something towards that debt, the water company will usually match that amount. So that debt clears twice as fast as it otherwise would have done. All that requires the customer to do is to obviously make that regular payment and sometimes keep to that for a period of time. But it just means that they'll be able to get their head above water much quicker than if they were trying to do that without that additional support from the water company.
And I don't want to try and muddy the waters, but I'm interested because I suspect there will be people in that situation. So if you were in that situation, you were signed up to this scheme where you're repaying and you're getting debt matching, which sounds fantastic. Can you also get on a social tariff at the same time? And could you also do the benefits calculate? Can you do all these things together?
Absolutely. Yes. All those three that you've just mentioned are all compatible. And also you could be making an application for a grant from the hardship fund as well. So, you can do all these things together.
So that really resonated with that statement you made at the start, but actually it may be tough, but actually there are things out there to help you, but reach out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think one thing we can only hope is that if there is anything good to come of the current circumstances, it gives us the opportunity to make more people aware that help is out there and that more people will be recognising that actually they do need to get that help and will, actually reach out for that.
And what do you think water companies can do then? Because I think they're kind of caricatures that they're sort of faceless corporates who don't really want to help. But given what you've just said, that's clearly not the case. What can water companies do to kind of make themselves more approachable?
They do need to kind of change that relationship that they've got with customers. They need to be able to see them as more approachable. And that comes from the interactions they have with them. And I think it is that first step sometimes that it takes for someone to reach out for help. And if they're there to give that help immediately, without question, without judgment, then that can really change that relationship going forward, for a lifetime potentially for that person. And they'll see their water company as someone there that can help them through those difficult periods rather than someone that is going to be on their back. And
they've seen them as a friend rather than a fool,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. So it's a real opportunity for water companies to change the way they're perceived.
Because I was just thinking about you want to break down those barriers for that initial contact.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're really urging people, clearly to get in touch, but also water companies to present their friendliest face as well.
Yeah.
So I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask you anyway, because you've given us a whole host of brilliant hints and tips, and we will cram the show notes with all of these, right? So people can see where to go. But what would you say is the kind of one main message for people? If someone's only half listening to this, they're doing the ironing or having a cup of tea, what would be the one thing you want people to do?
I think it's just to understand that through our lifetimes, our financial circumstances can all change, and there may always be, there may be that time in all our lives where we need a little bit of extra help. So they shouldn't feel awkward about that. They should reach out and take that help that is available. And if people know anyone that is in that situation, please encourage them to get that help. It really is what they're entitled to.
So give your friends a nudge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. Now, before you go, we're asking all our guests to tell us what their personal water use is, and we're going to create a little league table here. So we started this last week when we had our first guest on, who is the what's the right word? the irrepressible Steve Grevy, who just loved talking non-stop poo. So currently he's top and bottom of the leaderboard. So what you say here can matter quite a lot. So, Andy, what's the big reveal? Do you, well, first up, do you know your personal consumption?
I do. So knowing that this question might come up, I actually used our meter bill calculator on our website to work out how. You're so
on message, Andy. You're so on message. You've used our own tool. That's fantastic.
If I was really on message, I would already have known. I would know on a daily basis exactly how much I was using.
Steve has a spreadsheet.
Really?
Yeah, he does. He really does. I know. I did not know that. So, go on, Andy. Sorry.
So, using our very reliable water meter calculator, I estimated that my usage is about 137 litres a day. So, perhaps could be better, but maybe not the worst.
Below the national average. Well, I don't want to implicate a co-host that's not here, but one of the team has a very bad personal consumption rate, and it's not me. So, you know, I don't want to name names, but, you know, she's not in the room right now. So okay. So there you are. There's your position, on our board. So you are above Steve. But you are below one of the co-hosts. So, you know, all is not lost. And have you got any personal hints or tips on how to save water that you'd just like to share as a leaving gift for us all?
So I like the one about the showers. You know, we a shorter shower, you know, use a song to get you through that and time yourself. You know, it's brilliant. My favourite, as he's fairly well publicised now, is the Arctic Monkeys. I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor.
But that's an awesome song, right?
It's a great song. So, you know, use that and you can get through your shower in 3 minutes.
So are you a morning or an evening shower person?
A morning.
So that is a great song to kickstart your day.
It does. That and a cup of coffee and you're awake and ready for the day.
Be sure to head back through the archives and check out all the past episodes of Waterfall.
It's great to have Andy on there. We're almost out of time on this edition of Waterfall, so please do get in touch with the show, especially if you have any questions for Andy, and we'll make sure that he gets them. You can contact us at podcast@ccwater.org.uk.
You can also check out the show notes to find the links to the information that Andy has been talking about earlier. And finally, don't forget to investigate all the previous editions of Waterfall.
Well, last thing to say is thanks. Thanks for listening, and it's bye from me, Mike.
And it's bye from me, Karen.